Okay, greetings everybody who's watching this, particularly regulars. Thank you. Figure I'd do a video and I'm late to the game on IDARB, but I want to do it from a design perspective and relate it to, like, chess and what goes into design. Anyhow, I'm going to give you this video here. I'm going to have a link. I'm going to ask you to click the description below, watch it. If you have no idea what IDARB is, click there and watch it. Odds are you probably haven't found this if you have no idea what IDARB is, but if you do run across this, I figure I'd discuss it. IDARB's an interesting case. It stands for I Draw a Red Box. I believe that's Tim Schafer, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And pretty much, yeah, I believe they worked on it. Anyhow, it's interesting that he puts out a tweet about doing something called I Draw a Red Box, and then it got crowdsourced in. And the end result was the game IDARB, which is a sports game. It has a lot of crowd interactivity. You get a little bit of what you saw with the Pokemon project they did, I believe, Twitch TV. And you had crowd play. You can drop hashtag bombs and change the environment, which are equivalent to what you'd have in sports and weather. And there's a lot of inside gags continually to be refined and everything else. And you have one level that ends up being the default level that tends to work well that got refined. Anyhow, I'm going to relate this a little bit to the way chess is and contrast the way chess actually came about to the actual thoughts that people have about it. There have been actually quotes from chess about it was God's gift and it's such a perfect game and everything else. It's an evolutionary design, kind of like IDARB, but on a much slower design, but it shows what can happen with an evolutionary design if you get it, quote, perfect. And I'm going to do something else about an imperfect future. Perfection here means completeness, meaning lacking in anything, meaning gets stuck. Problem with an evolutionary design where it gets stale is that eventually it refines itself to a place where it gets to be boring. There's no innovation. There's nothing in there. People who are innovators and want to get creative will totally wear the path out. You see this happening with chess, and I'm going to speak bluntly here about this. What you have here is, I've seen quotes as, I want to play the game, same game as Garry Kasparov. If you're saying that 300 years from now, the game has gotten stale. What chess has done, actually, is interesting that now it resorted to reducing the chess clock. And that's what it's doing at this point. Something like a perfectly abstract strategy game, perfect skill, no luck, is that it has an expiration date. I think I've said this before. Thing is that a design that is evolutionary, or even not evolutionary, but gets designed, people will move out of. There is a skill base for it. But what ends up developing, if you don't have room for innovation in it and the game changing and allowing it to happen, is it gets stale. And the moment it gets stale, people move from it. IDARB is an interesting case of what's happening. It'll be interesting how it develops, but it actually got some popularity and allows a lot of player customizing and everything else. What it was is, it was interesting. I believe that's Tim Schafer. We got Tim Schafer. I believe Tim Schafer here on this side. I believe that's Tim Schafer. Anyhow, bear with me. He thought this would be another train wreck of a project, but actually by having a sense guided evolution without a destination, it was able to take on a life itself. And somebody said, "Oh, I'll just throw a ball in there." So it's interesting what you can develop. Apparently, it's gotten a certain degree of following. And I think you see stuff like Linux, for example. You know, the Cathedral versus the Bazaar. Go look up that paper. But anyhow, to actually have a design be able to, over time, just allow community input, you get a feedback loop. One of the big drawbacks is somebody who does a cathedral approach, who's just a starting person like myself or anything else. And that's why I believe in an evolutionary design for this in games evolving. That's what classic games redefined is about. The redesigning process is that's how you keep something fresh. But the problem you have when somebody comes up with a game that is done without playtesting, without user community. I mean, one thing is you have a design that's based upon the limited knowledge of the designer. That proves to be a problem because what you have from the scope is a problem because the you get something else designed that the designer has limited knowledge, you're going to get something that likely was invented before. Secondarily, without the input from the community, where you go across and do it, what eventually Notch of Minecraft had to let go of is by letting the community come involved and give input and overseeing it, kind of what happened with Linux, it grows into ways that even the other person can't see. The trick, though, here is actually hitting the fine line balance, because it's very possible that when you're working on this, a project can drift all over the place. I mean, one thing I had my WWB game and went like viral on BoardgameGeek, and it really was starting to lose its identity. It was going after boosted memo and stuff like that. So anyhow, IDARB's an interesting case. If it can, it will actually be interesting the way it goes. And another thing that actually will be very interesting happening is if it really shows it, so people are going to end up cloning it. My eyes roll. This is a stick figure soccer game. Problem is that the money men will get involved in this project and think, oh, people want to play a gravity soccer game, and they'll go across and clone this thing. I mean, that's what happened with Minecraft, and then you establish a genre anyhow. Well, I'm about out of points here. I just wanted to discuss IDARB, which I'm late to the game about, but anyhow. And that what you do is, if you have something that will continue to be able to evolve and change and go along with the community, do it. Magic's another example. You hit the fine line between the person who oversees and directs this, like a company like Magic, and the user community. You can actually hit right synergy between the two and the game can remain fresh. That also believes, and this is kind of a core point, so I'm kind of saying, I'm pitching a case for my interest, that by having stuff unstuck, you actually can do it, and it can stay alive. So I'm all in favor of it, and I believe concept of neuroplasticity, which I talked into, fits into. And I'm rambling. I wish IDARB very well. Hopefully it turns out very interesting, and we could see where it goes. And that's about it. Watch the video below if you haven't seen it. It's interesting what they did with the game goes into development. So, okay, I do want to thank you for watching, and may your die always roll 5.